A few weeks back, I did a video focused on this Hinge solution, even though it's made specifically for PVC pipes, because it works pretty well with EMT Conduit, and it's usually what I recommend to people who want to hinge conduit in their DIY projects. But shortly after making that video, a community member reached out and wanted to send some cool stuff to us, and I'm really glad that he did. And inside this box, I've got some 3D printed accessories from Billy, aka Northwoods Engineered, who we've talked a lot about on the channel. He's done some really great projects. He did the chainsaw mill that you might remember. He's also done a child carrier snow sled, and he's working on a trailer conversion to a camper. And inside of that, he made a camper stove stand. And then on the outside, he did an adjustable canopy and all kinds of really great projects with conduit, connectors, and of course, he does all kinds of other great DIY projects as well, not just with conduit and connectors. And most recently, he was working on a conduit project, and he made a fence for his dog. And like most builders working on enclosures and things like that, he needed to hinge conduit in the build and took it into his own hands to 3D print something specifically made for 3/4 inch EMT conduit, and then sent some to us to try out. And I'm really excited that he did. Huge shout out to Billy for doing that. And inside of this box here, I've got the hinge solution, I've got the gate latch that he came up with, and a 3D printed drilling jig. So some really cool stuff in here. And today we're going to look at these things and then test them out for ourselves. And before we do that, before we test them out, we'll just talk briefly about the design of each thing. So basically the hinge is kind of similar to the one that we highlighted. Basically you've got two pieces that are mirrored, and then you attach one to your gate and one to your build, and then you add a bolt through the 3D printed piece here and all the way through the conduit. And then you have a pin in the middle that allows this to hinge. And he sent us enough to do 2 hinges, which is great. He also sent over the gate latch, which again, you have a piece that attaches to your gate and then to your build, and then you can close it, and then the pin will latch inside of this notch here. And then in order to use those things, you need to drill all the way through conduit. And if you've ever done that, you know it can be challenging because the drill bit will walk all over the place, and it's just pretty annoying overall. But he made this drilling jig that makes it really easy to add a pilot hole so that you can then subsequently drill a larger hole for the bolts that you need for the accessories that he made, or any kind of accessory or any reason that you may need to drill through conduit. This will make it a lot easier, and it's really cool. He incorporated some things, kind of some quality of life features, if you will, where basically he made it so you don't have to slide it over the pipe. You can just walk up to your build, and if it's already in place, then you can just walk up and add the jig to it, and then it just slides over like that, and then you clamp it down. And he also incorporated, if you look closely, there's an arrow here, which makes it really easy to line up multiple holes if you're drilling. Like for this, we need to line up our hinges on our pipes, and what you can do is there is normally on every piece of conduit I've ever seen, because I think it's just a manufacturing thing. Whenever they make conduit, I don't know if this is like where I have no idea how they manufacture conduit, but there's a line that's left over, and if you look closely on pieces of conduit, you can see there's a flat edge, and you can use this to your advantage in something like this, because you can make your mark on that line and then use this arrow that he incorporated into the jig to line up the hole and make sure they're in the same plane, and then you can make sure that the hinges are going to be lined up, which is super smart that he incorporated that into it, and it's going to make it really easy to get those lined up. So that's really cool, and I'm about to do that here. I'm going to add a bunch of holes to some pipes here that I've got, then I'm going to add this to my build that I have out back, and we'll test out the hinge and talk about it a little bit more, so stay tuned for that. But first, let's use the drilling jig and get some holes put in these pipes. All right, so as you can see, I got the hinges attached to the build. Just need to line up the hinges on the gate and then add the nut on the bottom. And of course you don't want this to be too tight so it doesn't hinge, but you want it to be tight enough to where it stays in place. So I'll tighten those up. And then as you can see, it hinges super smooth. And then we've got the latch lined up on the other side, and we close it and the pin latches here, and then you just open it like that and then swing it back closed. Super cool, that works great. All right, let's go back inside and I'll give you my final thoughts. As you guys just saw, everything works exceptionally well. And while I was putting everything together, I realized a couple of amazing features that I forgot to mention earlier on. The first one is with the drilling jig. The other side, the opposite side that you're not drilling in, is open, so you can drill all the way through the pipe, and then you can go back and add the subsequent larger hole after the fact. After you have a pilot hole on both sides, you can do the bigger hole on one side, rotate the pipe around, and do the other side. And this is really helpful because it keeps you from drilling straight through the pipe at an angle, and that'll cause your bolts to be way out of whack. And so this makes it really easy to make sure that the bolt hole is straight all the way through the conduit. And it also prevents burrs from showing up on the outside of the pipe because you're drilling in both times. So the burr is going to be on the inside, so you don't have to file it down, although it might be a good idea to do that anyway. But still, those two features are really helpful. And I forgot to mention that earlier, but that was super amazing while doing this. And also, with the hinge and the latch and the pieces, Billy incorporated hex head slots into the pieces, so you only have to use one tool to tighten the nut on the opposite side, which if you're familiar with MakerPipe, you know we can appreciate because we designed the connectors to do something similar. So that was really cool too, and I forgot to mention that earlier, but that was a nice surprise while I was putting everything together. But as you saw, everything works awesome, and again, huge thanks to Billy for sending these out. And good news is, if you want to use any of these things in your builds, he's going to be offering these. I think at the very least, he's going to be offering the 3D print files, but if not, I think he's going to be offering the actual pieces that he'll make and then send to you, so you can reach out to him, and I'll put his email address across the screen. And you can also check out his YouTube channel and the videos that he did on these things and find out more information there. But again, huge thanks to Billy for sending these out, and thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.